Fertility decline and population growth projections in the United States. On January 18, 2025, the Congressional Budget Office (CBO) released a significant report highlighting alarming trends in the fertility rates and population growth of the United States. The report predicts that by the early 2030s, the growth of the U.S. population will rely entirely on immigration as birth rates continue to decline to levels far below the replacement threshold necessary to maintain population size. Key findings from the CBO report. 1. Declining fertility rates. The CBO has adjusted its total fertility rate projection from 1.70 births per woman to 1.60. This is notably below the replacement level of 2.1 births per woman, which is necessary for a generation to replace itself without immigration. If these trends continue, the U.S. population is expected to start decreasing around 2033 if immigration levels do not change. 2. Impact of immigration. The CBO estimates that without immigration, the U.S. population could begin to shrink as early as 2033. Between 2025 and 2035, the annual population growth rate is projected to average 0.4%, but this is expected to slow to just 0.1% from 2036 to 2055. By 2055, the population is projected to grow from approximately 350 million in 2025 to 372 million, with immigration becoming the sole driver of that growth. 3. Demographic shifts. The report also indicates that the aging population will significantly affect various sectors, including healthcare and social services. The number of individuals aged 65 and older is set to increase at a faster rate than younger age groups, which will lead to a higher average age of the population and more beneficiaries of programs like Social Security and Medicare. Timeline of population projections. 2024. The CBO published new fertility and immigration forecasts based on existing laws and policies as of November 15. 2024. 2025, the U.S. population is projected to reach 350 million. 2033, the number of births is expected to fall below the number of deaths, marking the beginning of a potential population decline without immigration. 2055, population projections suggest an increase to 372 million, largely driven by immigration. Societal and economic implications. The declining fertility rates and the shift towards immigration-driven population growth have far-reaching implications for U.S. society and the economy. Social Security and Medicare. As the proportion of older individuals rises, there is likely to be an increased burden on Social Security and Medicare systems, as fewer workers will be available to support an aging population. Labor market. A shrinking younger demographic could result in labor shortages, impacting economic productivity and growth. Policy adjustments. The CBO emphasized the need for policymakers to consider these demographic trends when planning for future economic and social support systems. Variations in projections. The CBO's projections differ from those of the U.S. Census Bureau, which primarily focuses on the resident population. The CBO incorporates additional categories such as U.S. citizens living abroad and lawful permanent residents, leading to higher overall population estimates. Conclusion. The findings presented by the CBO underline a critical juncture for the United States, as fertility rates continue to decline. The reliance on immigration as the primary driver of population growth becomes increasingly apparent. This necessitates urgent discussions among policymakers to address the potential challenges and to formulate strategies that will adapt to these demographic shifts. The future of the U.S. population will heavily depend on immigration policies alongside considerations for the well-being of an aging population. The analysis of the U.S. population growth forecasts reveals several counterintuitive insights regarding fertility rates and immigration dynamics. 1. Dependence on immigration. The prediction that U.S. population growth will become entirely reliant on immigration by the early 2030s contradicts traditional views of population growth being primarily driven by natural increase, births minus deaths. This shift emphasizes the significant role that immigration will play in sustaining population numbers, especially as birth rates decline. 2. Declining fertility rates. The revised total fertility rate projection from the Congressional Budget Office (CBO), which anticipates a decrease from 1.70 to 1.60 births per woman, indicates a trend that may be counterintuitive for a nation typically associated with growth. The fact that this rate is now projected to fall below the replacement level 2.1 births per woman suggests a long-term demographic challenge that could lead to population decline in the absence of immigration. 3. Aging population. The projections show that while the population will grow, the proportion of older adults 65 years and older will increase significantly. This demographic shift implies that a smaller working-age population, ages 25 to 54, will be supporting a growing number of retirees, which could have profound implications for social services and economic growth. The rising average age of the population may contrast with expectations of a youthful, growing demographic typical of past U.S. trends. 4. Potential population decline. The forecast indicating that the U.S. population could begin to shrink post-2033 without immigration challenges the assumption that population growth is inevitable in a developed nation like the United States. The necessity for immigration to counterbalance declining births highlights vulnerabilities in the current demographic strategy. 5. Immigration policy impact. The analysis points out how recent immigration policies such as the June 2024 executive order that temporarily suspended non-citizen entry directly affect population growth projections. Such immediate policy changes can have long-lasting demographic effects, which is often overlooked in broader discussions about immigration's role in the economy. 6. Different projections from agencies. The discrepancy between CBO's projections and those from the U.S. Census Bureau, particularly regarding immigration estimates, highlights the complexities of demographic forecasting. The CBO includes U.S. citizens living abroad and non-citizens who are eligible for social benefits, while the Census Bureau focuses solely on residents. This difference illustrates how assumptions about immigration can lead to varying projections about the future population. 7. Regional variations. While the national average may suggest population stability or growth, local and regional variations may lead to significant disparities. Some areas may experience population decline even as others grow, which could create political and economic challenges at different governance levels. 8. Uncertainty in projections. The CBO acknowledges the uncertainty underlying its projections of fertility, mortality, and immigration. This uncertainty, especially in later years, suggests that the demographic landscape could change significantly based on unforeseen social, economic, or political developments. The potential for abrupt changes in fertility trends or immigration patterns raises questions about the reliability of long-term predictions. 9. Changing family structures. The shift in fertility rates, particularly among younger women, suggests a broader cultural change regarding family planning and childbearing. Delays in childbirth and changing societal norms around family size may contribute to the observed decline, which is often not fully accounted for in traditional models of population growth. 10. Economic implications. The projections suggest that an aging population and declining birth rates could lead to labor shortages, increased healthcare costs, and pressures on social security systems. This economic perspective challenges the belief that a growing population is inherently beneficial for economic strength. These insights demonstrate that the future of U.S. population growth is more complex and intertwined with immigration and policy than traditionally perceived, calling for a re-evaluation of demographic strategies and policies to adapt to these emerging trends. The Congressional Budget Office (CBO) report predicting that U.S. population growth will rely entirely on immigration by the early 2030s is significant for several reasons, particularly the overlooked implications of declining fertility rates and changing demographics. Here are key points that are essential yet often go unnoticed or underappreciated. 1. Fertility rates and replacement levels. The CBO's adjustment of the total fertility rate from 1.70 to 1.60 births per woman highlights a persistent decline that is below the replacement level of 2.1. This significant drop is not merely a statistical change, it reflects deeper societal trends including economic factors, cultural shifts, and the prioritization of personal and professional goals over traditional family building timelines. The implications are profound. A sustained low fertility rate can lead to a shrinking workforce, increased dependency ratios, and potential economic stagnation as fewer workers support an aging population. 2. Aging population. The CBO projects that the population aged 65 and older will grow more quickly than younger age groups, leading to an increase in the average age of the population. This shift can have far-reaching consequences for healthcare systems, pension schemes, and social services. An aging population typically requires more healthcare resources and can place a strain on Social Security and Medicare systems, which are already facing financial challenges. The increasing ratio of retirees to working-age individuals can lead to higher taxes and potential cuts in benefits, affecting economic stability and growth. 3. Impact of policy changes. The report notes the influence of recent immigration policies, particularly the June 2024 executive order that temporarily paused most non-citizen entries. This aspect of the report may be overlooked as it ties immigration levels directly to political decisions rather than purely demographic trends. Such policies can have immediate and long-term effects on population dynamics, labor markets, and economic growth. Understanding this relationship is crucial for predicting future demographic trends and preparing for potential labor shortages in key industries. 4. Economic implications. The CBO emphasizes that the composition of the workforce and the number of people aged 25 to 54, critical for economic productivity, are expected to decline. This demographic shift could lead to slower economic growth as fewer individuals contribute to the economy. Moreover, as the working-age population shrinks, businesses may struggle to find sufficient labor, which can drive up wages and inflation, further complicating economic recovery and stability. 5. Social Security and Medicare. The increasing proportion of the population that is 65 and older will inevitably lead to more beneficiaries of Social Security and Medicare, as mentioned in the report. The ratio of working-age individuals to retirees is projected to decline from 2.8 to 1 in 2025 to 2.2 to 1 by 2055. This trend poses significant risks to the sustainability of these programs as fewer workers contribute to the system while the number of beneficiaries rises. Without reforms, this imbalance could lead to insolvency or reduced benefits. 6. Regional variations and immigration patterns. The CBO's projections may not account for regional variations in immigration patterns and their effects on local economies. Cities and states that receive a higher influx of immigrants may experience different demographic and economic dynamics compared to those that do not. Understanding these regional differences is essential for policymakers aiming to address potential disparities in economic opportunities and resources. 7. Long-term uncertainty. The CBO acknowledges the uncertainty surrounding its projections, particularly regarding fertility rates, mortality rates, and net immigration. This uncertainty underscores the challenges of demographic forecasting and the potential for unexpected shifts due to economic conditions, public health crises, or changes in immigration policy. Policymakers must remain flexible and responsive to these changes to mitigate adverse outcomes. 8. Cultural and social changes. The implications of a declining fertility rate extend beyond economics and demographics. They also reflect shifting cultural values and social norms regarding family, career, and gender roles. A societal shift toward prioritizing individualism and personal fulfillment can influence future generations' perspectives on family life and child-rearing, which can further entrench low fertility trends. 9. Potential for increased immigration reliance. As U.S. population growth becomes increasingly dependent on immigration, this reliance may lead to cultural and political tensions. Public attitudes towards immigration can fluctuate with economic conditions, and shifts in policy could dramatically alter the demographic landscape. The interplay between demographic need and immigration policy will be a critical area of focus for future governance. In conclusion, while the report's main findings about low fertility and population growth are significant, the broader implications, including economic, social, cultural, and policy-related aspects, are crucial for understanding the long-term trajectory of U.S. demographics. Addressing these issues requires a comprehensive approach that considers both the immediate effects of declining birth rates and the longer-term consequences of an aging population and changing immigration dynamics. The report serves as a warning sign for policymakers and society at large to prepare for a future where immigration may be the primary driver of population growth, with all the complexities that entails. 1. Declining fertility rates and population projections. The Congressional Budget Office (CBO) has reported a significant decline in the total fertility rate (TFR) in the United States, decreasing from 1.70 to 1.60 births per woman. This is markedly lower than the replacement level of 2.1 needed to maintain current population levels. The implications of this drop are profound, as it suggests that without substantial immigration, the U.S. population is projected to begin shrinking in 2033, highlighting a demographic crisis that could affect labor markets, economic growth, and social services. 2. Immigration as the key driver of population growth. As fertility rates continue to decline, the role of immigration becomes increasingly critical in sustaining population levels. According to the CBO, net immigration will account for the entirety of U.S. population growth by the early 2030s, with projections suggesting that it will be the sole factor preventing population decline. The CBO anticipates the U.S. population will rise from approximately 350 million in 2025 to 372 million by 2055, primarily due to immigration. This shift necessitates a re-evaluation of immigration policies and practices to facilitate this growth. 3. Socioeconomic implications of an aging population. Alongside low fertility rates, the projected increase in the proportion of individuals aged 65 and older poses significant challenges for social programs such as Social Security and Medicare. The CBO forecasts that the number of older adults will grow faster than younger age groups, leading to a higher dependency ratio. This demographic shift could strain public resources, necessitating policy adjustments to address the increasing demand for healthcare and retirement benefits while simultaneously managing a potentially shrinking workforce. 4. Differences in population estimates between agencies. The CBO's population growth estimates differ from those of the U.S. Census Bureau, primarily due to the CBO's inclusion of U.S. citizens living abroad and its broader definition of net immigration. This discrepancy highlights the need for a unified approach to population statistics, as differing methodologies can lead to varying interpretations of the demographic landscape. The CBO's projections are also influenced by recent policy changes, such as the June 2024 executive order that temporarily limited non-citizen entry, further complicating the immigration landscape and its impact on population growth. These points illustrate the complex interplay between fertility rates, immigration, aging demographics, and policy implications, emphasizing the need for proactive strategies to address the anticipated demographic shifts in the United States. 1. Italy and falling birth rates. Italy has been facing a significant decline in birth rates over the past several decades. The total fertility rate (TFR) in Italy has dropped to about 1.3 children per woman, well below the replacement level of 2.1. This decline has led to an aging population, with projections indicating that by 2040 nearly one-third of Italians will be over the age of 65. The Italian government has introduced various policies to encourage higher birth rates, including financial incentives for families and increased parental leave, but these measures have had limited success. As a result, Italy's population growth is increasingly reliant on immigration, with many immigrants coming from North Africa and Eastern Europe. 2. Japan's demographic crisis. Japan has been experiencing low fertility rates for decades with a TFR of around 1.4 children per woman. The country faces a dual challenge of an aging population and a shrinking workforce which threatens its economic stability. Government efforts to combat this trend have included promoting work-life balance, increasing childcare support, and providing financial incentives for families to have more children. However, cultural factors, such as a strong work ethic and the high costs of raising children, continue to hinder significant improvement. Consequently, Japan has also turned to immigration as a potential solution to replenish its workforce and support economic growth, albeit cautiously due to historical resistance to immigration. 3. Germany's immigration dependency. Germany has seen a significant decline in its fertility rate, which hovers around 1.5 children per woman. The country has implemented various measures to encourage families to have more children, including parental leave policies and child benefits. However, these efforts have not fully reversed the trend. Projections suggest that by the mid-2030s, Germany's population growth will rely primarily on immigration, as the number of deaths is expected to exceed the number of births. This shift has led to a greater emphasis on integrating immigrants into German society, particularly from other EU countries and refugees from conflict zones. The reliance on immigration has sparked debates about national identity and social cohesion, making it a critical issue for policymakers. The future outlook for U.S. population growth is poised for significant changes as low fertility rates and immigration policies shape demographic trends. By the early 2030s, the Congressional Budget Office (CBO) predicts that U.S. population growth will rely exclusively on immigration, with domestic birth rates falling below the replacement level of 2.1 births per woman. This summary outlines the anticipated trends and implications of this demographic shift. Key predictions. 1. Declining fertility rates. The CBO has revised the total fertility rate for the U.S. downward from 1.70 to 1.60 births per woman. This figure indicates a persistent decline in birth rates, primarily driven by socioeconomic factors such as delayed childbearing, economic uncertainty, and changing family dynamics. 2. Population dynamics. By 2033, annual deaths are projected to exceed annual births, marking the beginning of a population decline in the absence of immigration. The U.S. population is expected to grow from approximately 350 million in 2025 to around 372 million by 2055, but only due to immigration, as natural increase becomes negative. 3. Immigration as a growth engine. Immigration is anticipated to account for all population growth after 2033. The CBO estimates net immigration at 2 million in 2025, decreasing gradually to about 1.1 million annually from 2027 to 2055. This shift underscores the increasing reliance on foreign nationals to sustain population levels. 4. Aging population. The demographic structure will shift significantly, with the population aged 65 and older growing faster than younger cohorts, leading to an increased average age. By 2055, the ratio of working-age individuals ages 25 to 54 to retirees 65 plus will decline from 2.8 to 1 in 2025 to 2.2 to 1. Straining Social Security and healthcare systems. 5. Economic implications. A shrinking younger population relative to older adults may lead to labor shortages, increased pressure on social services, and a higher dependency ratio. Policymakers will need to address these challenges by potentially reforming immigration policy and adapting workforce strategies to ensure economic stability. 6. Policy adjustments. The anticipated demographic changes will necessitate significant policy adjustments, particularly regarding immigration. Legislative measures may focus on increasing pathways for legal immigration, enhancing integration programs, and addressing the needs of an aging population. 7. Uncertainties in projections. The CBO warns that its projections are subject to considerable uncertainty, particularly concerning future fertility rates, mortality rates, and immigration patterns. Small deviations in these factors could lead to substantially different demographic outcomes. Conclusion: the United States is on a trajectory where future population growth will hinge on immigration due to persistently low fertility rates. As the demographic landscape evolves, the implications for labor markets, social services, and economic sustainability will become increasingly pronounced. Policymakers must prepare to navigate these challenges, proactively ensuring that immigration policies and social systems adapt to a changing population structure. Addressing these issues will be vital to maintaining the health and vitality of the U.S. economy and society in the coming decades.